You shall come to know us as after credits, the movie slayers. But until new releases are the norm, you'll be getting more Avatar. And if you want to support us during these strange days of 2020, you can visit us over at patreon.com/Sexiest Productions. For less than the cost of the moon, you can support our show. That's early episodes, bonus content, and exclusive episodes just for you. Don't get lost in a fog on these deals. That's patreon.com/Sexiest Productions. Enjoy the show.
You have to have hope. Hope that one day the virus will end and you will be able to go out and earthbend again. Wait, I'm confused with my inspirational speeches. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast to fully give up on theatrical releases for the rest of 2020. I'm your host, AJ Waseska, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Metters.
Ahoy, ahoy.
And we're joined by our guests this week. Once again, it's Chaz Mackamer and Beau Chaz.
Yo, what up?
You can follow us on various platforms down below, including Patreon, Peepa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. You can also reach out to us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook if you have your own favorite Avatar episodes you want to talk about. And then, of course, you can email us directly to voice your complaints about why I should stop bashing on Christopher Nolan. Ryan, what is that email?
That email is not my cabbages. Excuse me. Sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
Indeed. This is going to be a fun one. So tonight, Side A, we are starting with The King of Omashu, which aired March 18th of 2005, written by John O'Brien and Anthony Lioli, directed by Anthony Lioli, animated by DR Movie, and it features the voice work of both Kevin Ng and Andre Soglioso as both young and old Boomy, respectively. Also, we have James C.A. as the Cabbage Merchant.
The infamous Cabbage Merchant.
The only real character, if I'm being honest.
He's got the most hardships of any character in this show, to be honest.
He has development.
I
He's a
mean,
developed character.
Sure, some people were abused by their father, some were neglected by their parents, some had their whole family and friends die in genocide 100 years ago. But this man's cabbages, I mean, fuck, come on!
Dude.
He demanded their heads be taken off. One head for each head of cabbage. That dude was gangster.
Wait.
Dude, that dude, he wasn't messing around.
But they only had 3 heads, unless you count Momo. That's only 4 still.
Appa. That's fine.
Appa counts as a few.
Appa counts as a
But Appa
couple
didn't go to town with him, though. I don't know if I'd count that.
Yeah, it wasn't Appa's fault. Appa would have been the voice of reason.
He would have been like, guys,
Yeah,
we
he
can't do this.
You would have given them puppy dog eyes, like, guys, come on, what are you doing?
Ryan, I believe you have some fun facts for us for this one.
I do have a couple of them for you. This episode is the only one in which the Cabbage Merchant's cabbages are destroyed numerous times. One time by the guards at the Omashu front gate, one time by Team Avatar when riding the mail delivery system, and one time by Boomy and Aang, again using the Omashu delivery system as a game. I wonder if they knew they were just gonna go back to this well like a million times, so they're like, we gotta set the precedent 3 times in this episode, and then whenever they show up, it's just an immediate callback. Y'all already know who this guy is. I
already know who it is.
Give it up for Cabbage
Now,
Man!
Give it up for Cabbage Man! Our final fun fact for this episode. In this episode, Boomy claims he is the most powerful earthbender that Aang has ever seen. Though Toph also claims this multiple times throughout the series. This also marks the first episode we see earthbending outside of the opening sequence. Toph is immediately better, 100%. Come on, guys.
There's actually a comic that, so they have a bunch of different, like, one-off stories in this one collection of comics, the Lost Adventures, I think is what it's called. And in one of them, it takes place, like, during the final episodes, where they first meet the Old Masters. And you actually get to see a little bit of Toph and Boomy going at it.
God,
That's
I want to
right.
see that.
It should have been animated, but it's a cool little glimpse into just how chaotic. They end up having to stop the fight because their battle is so intense. It's almost going to destroy everything around them.
That's understandable.
Yep.
I could see that.
Yep.
I mean, Toph isn't going to be told what to do by some crinkled old man, and Boomy sure as hell isn't going to let that goofy ass child make a fool of him. So don't. That's one for the ages.
It's so good. Let's get
And two, she's like arguably one of the strongest characters, second to Aang, of course, in the entire show.
What? Twinkle
Yeah,
Toes better than
especially
her?
when she-
I don't know.
spoiler
I think Toph could take him.
I mean,
I agree too.
we can talk about who beats who at the end of the series.
That's fair.
Power
That's fair.
levels scale up like nonsense.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
That's fair.
I was actually wanting to bring that up. I think if we did like a bonus episode where we talked about, questions like that, favorite characters from the past, because there's so
Who
many
is the
characters.
waifu, the one true series waifu?
Ooh, don't
Yeah.
do
Why
that
is
one
it
yet.
Azula?
Don't do that one yet. Gotta hold off.
I'm kidding. I was kidding.
Jazz, just a heads up for you.
Synopsis
Just a heads up
log.
for you. We have talked about this on the show before, but don't stick your dick in cray cray.
I
Yeah.
mean, but ain't that like
Rule.
the best though?
Oh no.
It's not worth the cost, homie. It's not worth the cost.
Dude, but like listen,
Ryan, I disagree with you.
It's fun for a night, and then you've got years of headache.
and that's fine.
I'm 15
Worth it.
years in with Crazy, and it's still worth it. I mean, at
That's fair play. Hey, I'll drink to that, bro. Cheers. Ready?
Cheers,
Ready?
I'm
Let's see if this comes through the mic. You guys get that?
Dude, that was great.
That was
That
good.
perfect.
Cheers to you, sir.
So I'll get a quick synopsis out of the way and we'll dive into some questions here. Aang and his friends, Aang takes his friends to Abashu to wreak havoc and destroy cabbages. But their hate crime against cabbages is brought before the king, who insists on throwing them a feast. But it's all a trick to reveal Aang is the Avatar. So he imprisons Sokka and Katara in a weird rock, and Aang must complete 3 challenges to free them. The challenges are bizarre and indirectly tied to the ultimate challenge of Aang figuring out who the king really is. He deduces after getting his lunch, getting his pet, and fighting him in a one-on-one fight that the king is his old friend Boomy from the various flashbacks shown throughout the episode. He tells Aang to remember to think outside the box when fighting the Fire Nation. Bookmark Omashu is a place to visit when we need an earthbending teacher. It's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, guys, what do you think of this episode?
Oh man.
I love it. One of my favorite episodes of the whole series. I love King Boomy, like one of my favorite characters. I think that the showcase of both power and just being wacky is really cool in a character, because there is something to be said about the Mad Hatter, right? Like the character of the Mad Hatter is cool because he's legitimately crazy, but in this case he's crazy, but he's also crazy strong and crazy smart. So like you have the whole variety of everything, if you will. So it's just really cool. I very much enjoyed this episode.
I mean, one could argue he's not really quote-unquote crazy, but more just that he has this unique insight that unless you can think along the same logic as him, it will come off as crazy.
He's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, but also
No, he totally-
that's how they introduce the character. Like the character's introduced as this kind of mad, like almost villainous old king who's just, I'm gonna put your friends in some growing crystal, and you'll have to complete 3 challenges in order to save them. Just like what? Like I know who he ends up being, but why portray him kind of like a villain at the very beginning?
The villain, he's not a very strong villain at all, though. I mean, he throws him a feast, and then he puts him in a very like escapable crystal, which creeping crystal used to go for $50 a gram on Old Neighborhood.
Hey,
Oh
my
nice.
Well, so
Nice.
I thought the show was gonna go into like after school episode of like not doing drugs, because it like hits those themes.
Sokka's
So
just
that's where I
getting
was kinda
blazed in the corner with that new creeping crystal.
I like how it ends up being Candy at the end of the show. Like if he would have known that he could have been eating that the whole time, there would have been no problem at all. He would have ate his way out.
Oh my God, that's Heisenberg's new market, creeping crystal.
So did the stakes of this episode ever feel real to you guys?
No, I think this is
No.
a filler episode.
Oh really?
Oh,
Oh,
Yes, sir.
seriously? Oh my.
Really?
We're gonna get into this now. Let me give you my thoughts on the show.
They bring
I
back Boomy later on. That's not a filler episode.
In multiple episodes, multiple times.
It's not as strong as the last one. I don't think the message is as strong. But let me get the bad stuff out of the way. I don't think the message is strong. I think it's a little bit more kitschy. It's a little bit more comedic. It's not as this steers off from the original plot line a lot more than the last episode that we argued about being a filler. But however, I love Earthbenders. I think they're the most entertaining visual fighters to watch. I love their moves. Like, so the battle scene with what's his name again? Buki?
Boomy?
Boomy. With Boomy, I love that. I absolutely love that last battle. The sliding, the air delivery system, I think is one of the coolest visual things to watch. Me, myself, I would love to have like worked on the line there, just like kicking rocks and shit like that. So this episode is definitely very entertaining. And it doesn't mean a filler episode's bad or it's a bad filler episode. I just feel like this is a filler episode that I like very much. This is definitely in like my top 10 probably. Well,
so basically what I was saying last episode. Okay, gotcha.
Basically, we're flip-flop completely. But it was cute, like the animation, the pause when like they crashed this scene. That was like a great old movie trope that like they're giving homage to those action scenes where they come crashing through. This would be a good time to bring up my Zach Morris theory. So that video clip about how Zach Morris is actually a bad guy. You guys seen that at all?
No.
Who is Zach Morris?
From Saved by the Bell.
Never heard
sorry,
it.
I actually didn't watch it.
Okay, so oh my god. So Saved by the Bell, iconic show. The main character everyone loved. He was like a hot blonde guy, but like they did a clip of like actually he was a bad guy. So here's this main character you think is good, but really they're way more destructive. And most of these episodes, like last episode, like Aang brought in the whole fire vendors and destroyed a village. This episode, he just did a ton of damage through this town, crushed dudes like cabbage for like the third time, crashed through broke some dude's basket that looked like very intricate and looked like it took a very long time to create, and broke up a bunch of roof tiles. Like,
well, okay,
our
but
characters that are on this quest for good.
Okay, but keep in mind though, the Fire Nation thing in the last episode, totally not Aang's choice. They followed him there, and he was just being irresponsible, not realizing they were going to follow him.
Yeah,
here
but still,
in this episode, he is deliberately choosing to be a chaotic entity here.
Sure, but once again, though, damage is done. It's another example of like, and it's just like kind of like gives you like here's two moments of evidence that like maybe our good guys aren't that good at guys.
So you're doing the J.
Maybe
Jonah
they-
Jameson argument here.
Yeah, a little bit.
I want pictures of the Avatar.
Oh yes, that's good. I like that. That was good.
The Avatar's a menace!
I do like.
Look at this poor
Back to,
cabbage
like-
merchant's wear. All over on the street.
Well, this has one of like the best ending lines too, where to kind of relate back to Ryan's Mad Hatter, where he says, "Think like a mad genius. Whenever you doubt yourself, think like a mad genius." And it's just like, oh shit, that's pretty gangster actually. Like, don't think too much, just think crazy. It also like it gives this like Hamlet effect. So Hamlet goes crazy, so he can keep an eye on everyone. So I kind of always like that Mad Hatter sort of character, that he's acting crazy, so people aren't going to take him seriously, but really he can make gangster moves.
Gotcha. So this is the episode where they introduce earthbending. Like, we actually get to see it legit for the first time. Did it work? Was it a good introduction? Why or why not? And why do you think it took 5 episodes to get to this point?
I mean, I can go ahead and start. I think it was a great entrance for earthbending. I think the portrayal of the earthbenders and the earthbending kingdom is one of the coolest, in terms of, like, not necessarily coolest in terms of style, but in terms of the way that all of the different people, the different nations work, is very reminiscent of the element they represent. You know, the Earth Kingdom is that they live in rocky areas. It's tough. It's a brutal environment. It's hard living. They, calluses on your hand. They're very militant, very direct, not militant in like in an aggressive way like the Fire Nation would be, but more just like structured. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay, I get you.
So
they're coal miners, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And the second they introduce them, you're like, I get it. This is the Earth Kingdom. Like, I understand that these people, like, I get where the history is. Like, it introduces the kingdom and the group of people very well, in my opinion. I think it introduces the art very, very well. I think it was very cool to show, not the battle side of it. You do get that towards the end of the episode when he does fight Boomy, but it also gives you the utility, building walls, the mail transport system. Like, instead of just showing you, like they do with firebending, just the fighting and the anger, and even a lot of the stuff up to this point that we'd seen with airbending is either just parlor tricky stuff, or it's used for aggressive stuff, besides flying, of course. It's just kind of showing you more of the utility stuff, which is a cool side to see. So I think it worked out really. I think it was a really cool introduction for the element, because you got both sides of the coin as what it can be used for and what it is used for, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the utility of it that they show off with it.
Well, like at this point, we get back, now we're starting to get into the meat and potatoes of the show, now that we've seen how the character representation of the fire benders, the water benders, they've established those characters. They've developed that really good base. And I thought this episode was a great introduction because of the comedic factor, the versatility. Like, I would love to, out of all the towns out there, I think this would be like one of the coolest ones to live in. Like, I would want to be like the air guy, So, great introduction. It was a great episode. It was fun with the relationship and the message. Once again, like, this is a kids show, so like, what's the message they're trying to give to the younger crowd? And that's, think on your toes, think like a mad genius.
I can appreciate that.
I also like the concept of things being not as they appear, but added directly to like introduced alongside earthbending, because earthbending would seem to be the most straightforward of the two. And in terms of the martial arts that it's based on, it's definitely more like forceful and in your face and direct. But having it be Boomy, who like at first just looks like a hunched back, wizened old man, and then under the surface he's just
Hulk.
fucking jacked. And
Dude,
then,
he's got like a 9-pack, dude. He's just like
right.
I love
being able to use earthbending in so many creative and off the wall ways. Like, it actually really sets the stage perfectly for Toph, whom we're not going to get to see until next season. But your primer into earthbending is, it's powerful, but it's more subtle than you'd think, because there's a lot of stuff happening under the earth, like in the earth under your feet, that you don't know about. And so when you're introduced to a 12-year-old blind girl her being the greatest fucking earthbender on the planet isn't too far of a stretch.
Well, what I liked, it also showed a vulnerability to their power. Like, as cool as their fighting style is and as aggressive as it is, there's a lot of like weakness. Like out of all of them, I think it's probably waterbending. I guess I don't know if it's definitely not in the top. It's not in the top 2 of like in the final battle of
in
like,
the top
strongest,
4 of these 4 elements. It's not in the top 2.
I realized that point was run out of steam very quickly. But you're not going to see them in the finals. You know what I mean? If it was just a semifinal, then a final. But yeah. So, but I think it was cool to see the magnitude of like what Earth can do, and then the creativity, like. Even though, like, up to the battles so far that we've seen, we had the Firebender scene that had more of, like, a message behind it. I think this one has been the best visually and as far as the intent of just watching it. I think that so far this is my favorite battle.
I think it also shows the resilience of the Earth Kingdom, like why the Earth Kingdom is one of the last standing physical kingdoms on the in the series. I mean, sure, there's the North Pole, but you also just have like the accessibility to the North Pole kind of sucks. They're just up there doing their own thing. Who cares? We'll get to them later. But you very much understand quickly why it takes why they're spoiler alert, but why they're waiting for the comet in order for them to finish the assault on the Earth Kingdom.
That's actually a good point. Like, I want to take my point back completely. Like, now that you add the sand effect, what is that called? Shit, liquid sand, where like quicksand. You can freeze them. The longevity, they're kind of like the shark of the benders in the sense that they've been around forever. And so, yeah, I guess I changed my stance dramatically.
And when you watch the combat between Earthbenders and any other of the other benders, like when Aang's fighting Boomy or just doing training stuff, wind doesn't really do a whole lot to rock. And fire doesn't really do a whole lot to rock.
Water's probably the best bet you have against it, and even that's still not gonna be perfect.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, if you have a strong enough earthbender or multiple or whatever, it's just with the earthbending style, it's more of you need to overwhelm what they are able to do and outthink them.
Well, just think of the final battle. They have 3 walls to break through, and they're like 3 strong walls. So yeah, that's a good
it's more just overwhelming odds versus
right. There's definitely a numbers game with
being stronger.
Yeah,
if you will.
I think there's a line that Boomy says in a later episode about referring to what do you call it? Earthbending is like a game of like Jing, and then you have to have your positive, negative, and neutral, and that's the one you need to do for earthbending. There's a level of like game and metagaming and just this deep thought when it comes to bending, at least from what he's saying, that I think earthbending has that. Unless you like study it like to the level that they do, you probably wouldn't even consider that whole line of thinking, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Next question.
Do you guys ever feel bad for the cabbage merchant? Even once?
Yeah,
No.
of course, man. No, that motherfucker, he's a small business owner trying to get his. Like, he ain't got like all the capital in the world. Like, man, I feel bad for that guy. Fucking some punk ass kids fucking his cabbage up every right and left. I'd be fucking pissed. That'd be like kids coming on my food truck like 3 times in a day, grabbing up all my tacos, and not me being able to do anything about it. Like, I would call the police on those kids. I didn't want to say anything incriminating.
I think that's what happened.
Off with their heads.
Oh man, off with their heads. 4 heads apiece.
1 for each head of cabbage.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him. I think they do too much. I just
Heartless.
I
What
don't
was he
care
doing
about the
wrong?
character.
What was he
But
doing
like,
wrong?
I don't care about the character. It's like you don't feel bad about if you ever watch like Man of Steel, you don't feel bad for all the people who died in the other buildings. Like you're just like, I don't.
I mean, I feel bad for the IHOP.
I'm not paying attention. Like, nah, dude. Like I don't feel bad for any of it. Like if you are not one of the characters in the story, I don't really care.
Different. That's collateral damage.
Damn.
But
Yeah, it's collateral
That's
damage. That's how I
cool,
view it. I'm
dog.
like, oh,
But-
they died to progress the story of the people I actually care about.
But Chaz, consider this though. We are shown in the beginning of Batman vs Superman that there is someone in that crowd who is worth caring about, and then he becomes like a villain, I guess, in the movie Batman v Superman, huh?
Eh,
Oh wow, Aaron.
but like,
Listen, I hate that movie.
Yeah, you
I'm
should-
stretching
you-
hard here.
you classified under collateral damage. I get where you're coming from.
yeah, like I don't care if you die. Like, has anybody in this? Have anybody seen A Walk to Remember?
Mm-mm.
Yes, and for. Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Beau. So you'll understand this reference. So
Some people just
to
gotta
give,
die.
to give Ryan and Aaron a little bit of a thing, it's like the cliche, like bad boy meets good girl somehow is dying of cancer, good girl changes bad boy into good boy, and then she dies and he continues living on his life, being better person because of her. Dude,
And,
I didn't give two
based on her
shakes that
death.
she died. I didn't give two shakes because
Whoa.
her death, the only purpose of her death was
Is to
to
make him a
further
better
his
guy.
story.
She's
that
collateral
was how the-
damage.
That's how it was written. So if it's
Like-
written that way, then that's how I view it. Like cool.
I like how singularity. You have your example all the way to like mass people dying in Superman's collateral damage to a girl
Good.
dying of cancer. I get it, man. You file it off in collateral damage and just mark it like that.
Listen, man, if
You
you
heartless
cared about
fuck.
everybody that's affected in these things, kind of like we were talking about in the previous episode, Beau, where you were talking about these people, the body count. These people have families, and you're like, if you start thinking about it, you will never enjoy any media ever because you're like,
Ever again.
ever
But a
again,
girl
you're like,
with
oh.
cancer- I guess
Like even watching like a video, like a war movie, like Flags of Our Fathers or Letters to Iwo Jima. You're just like, even though these people were bad people, or even sometimes good people who were just doing their job, like you're still just like, they have families.
it's too much emotional distraught.
Yeah, so
like
I just
the point.
collateral damage. Put it away. Put it in the closet. Bury it down. Let it out one time when I cry during Toy Story 3 when they're all about to die, and then that's it.
Oh my God.
You're definitely the Mac of the group, bro. You just proved yourself there.
You are, 100%.
That was the most Mac-ish thing you've said so far, bro.
Wait. You have feelings like almost every day, bro. Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't know what those are. Again, just during Toy Story 3 when they're all about to get incinerated, I'm just like, all right, this is the
that's-
time it's okay to cry.
Yeah,
Okay, he's the Mac. He is the Mac of the group.
Wow.
it is true though. That
Confirmed.
I mean, I every single person's allowed to cry during that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Get off the. Oh man, just get off the rails. I've told this story before on this podcast, but Chaz, I'm gonna tell it too. So my son, when he was growing up, he's like 3 years old when that movie came out, and he used to love acting out movie scenes. So like
Oh,
How to
no.
Train Your Dragon, like when he gets caught up in the tangled web, like I would have to act like I was about to stab him, and he would look up at me, and then like I couldn't do it. Like if I didn't act out the scene perfectly, he'd get all mad. He's autistic, and so like everything had to be perfect, right? And so
Yeah.
like that scene, it's me and him like as they're traveling down the into the fire pit. I'm on one side
Oh
of the
my
couch
gosh.
reaching for his hand. He's on the other side of the couch reaching for my hand, and we're looking at each other. We're looking at each other as we go off into the incinerator, and like I'm weeping just tears. Like just how
Oh my
special
gosh.
this moment, moment is, and then scene changes, and he like just slaps my hand away and goes on acting on to the new scene, and I'm just like left in this wake of emotional devastation. It was like
Oh
one
my
of the
gosh, that's
sweet-
amazing.
Your
Oh,
kid's
it's
like,
so
I don't
cool.
give a shit. Moving on.
Right.
I don't
Cut.
care about your
Check the-
feelings.
Check the
Little
gates.
puss
Let's go.
boy.
Next shot.
Yeah.
Next scene. Go on.
But yeah,
Nice.
not to derail us, but that should be the
No, that was
sub-name
good.
of this podcast.
Like that.
Love
That
it.
was good.
Last question before we move on to the next episode. Do you want to see more of King Boomy, past or present?
Yes.
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 I'd be
Yes,
interested
Dad.
in seeing Boomy's rise to king, because he doesn't from the flashbacks he looked like just a normal
Crazy?
scrappy looking kid.
He kinda
So
did,
I don't
yeah.
know
One
if
eye,
he
little
was
eye.
I
He
don't
looked
know if
crazy.
he was the I don't know if he was the active prince that just refused to play into the idea of what nobility should look like, or if he actually was like a scrappy peasant who somehow
Like
mad
Aladdin.
kinged his way up to actually ruling the city. I want to see both of those, honestly.
Yeah, he's cut, so maybe he's a great warrior that, like you said, fought his way up from the ranks. Or I kind of like this idea because, you see him as a kid, his eyes are still crazy. He has crazy hair, so they're suggesting that he was a very eccentric person. So maybe he Hamilton his way up into kingdom ship
So
or whatever
Boomy
they call
did
it.
not throw away his shot. Is that what
I
you're
like
saying?
to think that
No, he went crazy, so he kept an eye on everyone,
Yes.
and he was able to gain information, and he just used that to his advantage, and just
like Varys
you know,
from Game of Thrones.
yeah, or Stalin.
But see, I like to think that he's almost like that he was the prince, and he just. I mean, granted, I don't know this. I'm sure that there's something in the books or graphic novels or something, but I think that I would like to think that he's the prince, and it'd be cool to see that, because obviously,
Right.
from the way his character behaves, he potentially could have some mental issues, some potential mental disabilities there, whether it's genetic, whether he's born that way or had an accident or something, and then you could kind of build off of that and be like, yo, and people that have issues and struggles, they can do whatever they want. They could be, the king, just kind of thing, and
a little bit more mental health awareness kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more like the mental health awareness. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of the fact he's a prince, and he don't give a shit. He's like, yeah, we're gonna ride the delivery service. I'm the fucking prince up in this mode. I'm gonna run I'm gonna run this shit.
That actually would make a lot of sense, too.
Wow.
Well, let's flip over to side B real quick. We'll be covering Imprisoned, which aired March 25th, 2005. This was directed by.
We're getting deep, boys.
This was directed or written by Matthew Hubbard, and Dave Fellini returns to direct. Again, JM Animation on deck for animations. The cast now introduces Michael Dow as Haru, Kevin Michael Richardson as Tyro, Pat Music as Haru's mom, and of course George Takei as the Warden, which ties into our singular fun fact.
Right.
Yes. George Takei, who voiced Warden because the lead was taken from me, and his family actually found themselves in a similar situation to the earthbending prisoners in this episode. During World War II, they were forced to relocate to a Japanese-American internment camp in Arkansas,
Right.
and later transferred to another camp in California. Much like the villagers who were being imprisoned simply for being earthbenders, Takei and his family were, of course, forced into these camps simply for being of Japanese heritage. That's not that fun.
That is.
Actually, to take
You
a
took
dark
the
note.
fun part of that fact, Aaron.
Right.
I hope you know.
Yeah, that
You know
was.
how
That's
how
like a dark.
terrible that is.
That's a dark side of American history that we don't know a lot of. That there is basically a Holocaust for Japanese heritage people in the west coast of this country. That you can take tours of. As in high school, I grew up in Idaho. We would take tours of old, basically Japanese concentration camps.
I
Pretty
mean,
dark.
thank God it didn't go that as far as the Nazis did, in terms of killing 6 million Jews. But
Right.
Well,
still, the fact that that happened, and in my personal opinion, I mean, I don't know how political we get on this podcast. Aaron, feel free to cut it if you would like
however
to.
you want to get.
But like, at least on my perspective, nobody talks about it.
Right.
I mean, nobody talks about that. This is something that, as an American society, we said, it's a pretty cool idea. Let's take all these people, right, that have many of them were American citizens, right? Or, even if they had recently immigrated over, whatever the case may be, a lot of them were American citizens, second generation, first generation, whatever the case may be. And they're like, let's just take a bunch of our own people and like shove them in a bunch of like really bad living conditions and make them do some hard labor for a little bit.
Well, keep in mind, it's also a country
just because they're Japanese, just because of that. Like, that's it. Well, it wasn't like they were bad people, or they were causing problems, or it was they were causing a ruckus or anything like that. It literally was just like, hey, you have squinty Asian eyes, you're going into this camp. And it's like, are you serious? We did that as a country.
We've got to keep in mind we're also founded by a country that thought free labor was a great business model for farming fields.
Fair.
You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? So
Or we stole the land from the people who lived here originally.
right.
That's true.
Strike three, America.
You're out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I, they teach about slavery in school, and they teach a little bit about the native culture, at least.
They gloss over it pretty hardcore, though.
Yes, that's what I was about to say, that they gloss over things that make us look bad, and that's what makes me mad. And I'm like, bruh.
Ooh,
this is one of the worst things that this country has ever done, is putting our own citizens, people who legally were allowed to be in this country, who were paying taxes, who were working an honest job, and just for like, all right, we're just gonna shove you into a camp, take everything from you in the middle of the night and shove you into a camp. And it's freaking unbelievable that it happened, like that there's people still alive that this happened to, like George Takei, for example. He's still alive, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Like.
Yeah, he's actually.
There's people that this still happens.
Yeah, he's also. I mean, to bring it up too, a homosexual, Japanese American. So he definitely is a true example of like what the American dream is. Overcoming so much obstacle, and to be as successful as he has, being the fact that his people of all different parameters of who he is has been oppressed for so many years.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue into the episode. I mean, this is like a point that I wanted to bring on. Like, this is where we get into some of these deeper tones. And we've had some deep moments too, like feminism, dad issues, and like attachment issues. Now we're talking into like slavery and oppressing people, but then like within one episode we watch them overcome and like fight back with such furious like ferociousness, and then just the animation with like everything with like how they fight together as a team. Like, I almost teared up when like the father son, like Chaz, I'm the opposite of you. I cry like every day about everything, but like with the father and son, we're putting together that coal and like fighting in there. God damn, it is one of those moments of this show. It's like, this is a fucking kid show. And obviously this is more of those deeper plot shows that we've talked about. There's filler shows, and whatnot. But this is definitely like one of the better plot progressive shows that we'll see in the early part of this season, I think.
Well, I'll get a synopsis real quick, and then we can jump back into this discussion here. The gang finds the mysterious young earthbender social distancing to the extreme. When he is spotted, he runs away to his village. Katara tracks him down, and the boy's mother, Haru's mom, scolds him. The boy, Haru's mom's son, is one of the last earthbenders left in the village, and he is pushed into using his powers to save an old man. This old man is a baby boomer who sees his rebellious young millennials a threat and demands he goes to prison. So he does. No trial. Anything. Katara fakes her way into the prison thanks to Aang. The earthbenders are taken to an oil rig in the ocean where their powers are useless because they are amateurs compared to Toph. Sorry, spoilers. Katara tries to use her inspiring leader feat, but she rolls a critical failure, so Sokka devises a plan for the earthbenders to get some earth, so they'll stop bitching about not being as good as Toph. The Earthbenders are given Cole's early Christmas gift and use it to break out of the prison camp. Hope is restored and Katara got to be the focus of the episode. Tune in next week when we return to the main plot. So yeah, what do y'all think?
So
That was good.
that was a good synopsis there. I like that. Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Yo, that old dude can suck my dick.
Yeah, seriously.
Honestly.
Fuck that dude.
What the hell,
Which old
dude? I would have
dude?
let. On God, I wish he had left him there to die, like that. If somebody saves my life, right? Like I'm, I get in a car accident. Some dude walks up and he's like, "Yo," and he's like smoking a joint, right? But he gives me CPR. He's like, "Yo, don't tell nobody I was smoking this J," right? I'd be like, I got you, fam. Like I'm not gonna say nothing. Like I ain't no snitch.
Bro.
Like you saved my life. Like I think I can let it pass. Like I think we're good.
Now,
It's
what if
not
he
like
turns
it's,
around and
freaking
sells
child
some
pornography or
hardcore
something.
drugs to kids just right down the street?
I mean, you saved my life. I think I give him a little bit of a pass. I give him at least a head start.
Okay. Okay.
Like,
Fair enough.
Oh my gosh, man! But oh, man.
Well, this is another
Yeah.
example of like how here comes the Aang crew up to a town. Dude's doing his thing, hiding out, bending rocks, and gets startled by this group. And then the first thing she does is when she runs into that place, like calls him out right in front of his mom. And so then, the fire guys show up because of the fact that like they're causing a stir. There's new people in the town that are all up in their business and whatnot. And, it's this example of how this town was fine before they showed up.
Yeah, look at
and
Aang going
it's
around,
very
just
much
disrupting the
shows
status quo.
It wasn't really fine before they showed up. They were oppressed by the Fire Nation.
But it shows
Oppressed
their
Ryan or
ignorance of the
impressed?
situation.
It does. It does show their ignorance of the situation. They did
So, like,
come in
like-
and completely didn't know what the fuck was going on and caused caused some trouble for that family. That's very true.
Yeah, it'd be
So,
like me busting
the
into a
little
bank robbery with
interruption-
hostages and with a gun and be like, as a cop, be like, just why is my dog squeaking a toy right now? It'd be like there's a bank robbery going on. They have hostages. They're like, if anybody comes in here, we're gonna blow them away. And some dude just like walks in there's like, hey man, like let's just talk it out, man. And like it's like, what do you mean?
Hey man, like I want to
You do
talk
not
it out
know
with you,
what is
bro.
happening in the situation. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man.
You want to light up?
Hey, Bray.
I just did some CPR. I feel great.
You want some of this marijuana?
So I have a question, a very important one, tied to this
You
episode
guys,
specifically.
Jesus, I love it.
How, in holy hell, did Shyamalan fuck up this episode so bad in the film? How? Like, how did they do it?
He ran out
Oh, man.
of budget for to animate the earth bending, and so you have like a squad of 5 dudes performing essentially like a haka, only to have one boulder float across the screen. Man, fuck that movie.
Oh,
my
yeah,
god.
that's right.
I'm
Oh,
more
yeah.
upset
I
by
totally
the fact
forgot
that they
about
wasn't
that
on an
too.
oil rig and they were just trapped on a patch of dirt.
Yeah, that was a little. Yeah, like couldn't have at least green screened in a background of like an oil rig or something. I mean, there's a plenty of abandoned oil rigs that you can get to for really cheap. So I don't see why the budget issue.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And this is such an important episode for the progressive or for the progress of Katara's character.
It really is.
And this is like the first episode she doesn't carry on about her dead mom. Like she only
Right.
says it once, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like usually
Which
she's
I'm
like, my
pretty
mom
sure-
died, and it made me really sad. And you shouldn't be sad about losing your entire civilization due to a genocide, because my mom died. Like, I think I have it worse than you do. It's like, all right.
I think that's one of the rules of the drinking game that I sent you, that every time you have to drink one every time she brings up her mom.
Oh, you'd be dead.
dude, you would be dead
Yeah.
by the end of episode 4. Like,
Oh,
you
man.
would literally die.
We've tried playing the game, and it gets to the point where you're like more like focusing on following the rules than you're actually watching the show, because there's like a lot to follow. But I was like definitely one of them that was there. But I agree with too. This is one of her first episodes, and each 3 of these characters get a lot of their own time, which I think with the long season that you have, you're able to like take these episodes and really show that depth. So, and what I've noticed about the A and B stories, like sometimes that B story is over with the firebenders. It's like sometimes the A and B story is between Yang and Zuko. So like this one's her episode to kind of see where she stands and give her a lot of depth of character, because at the end of the day, she plays an extremely important part in a lot of these later episodes.
Mm-hmm. And you really got to build up to that stuff.
Yeah, she cucks my boy.
Oh.
And then she kind of slutty, right? My daughter brought this up. She's like, how come she's like attracted to all like the boys that are around? Like, oh
Dude,
yeah,
right?
And I put in my notes. And I put in my notes.
She's
I'm
a
like, "Girl, kinda
teenager,
slutty."
guys. Come on.
What do you
Right.
mean? That don't mean
Well,
you
that's-
gotta open it up for everybody.
Wow.
But
Just saying.
that's how good the writing is. They show a lot of emotion of a character. Like like you see how Zuka, what's the Prince Fire Gut kid's name?
Zuko.
My dude.
Zuko. So that will be a drinking game for this podcast. Every time I get a name wrong, you have to drink.
Yeah.
But you see his progression, like in his strife. I forgot I was going to that point. I'm forgetting his name. But oh well. So we'll just move on. It's all good.
So
I totally lost train of thought.
I have a few questions tied to the central plot of this one. First off, are the Fire Nation soldiers really this dumb?
Some of them.
They're stormtroopers, bro. They gotta be dumb.
But like, they thought Momo was bending a rock.
Well, comedic relief. I mean,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
gotta have a little bit of comedic relief. Otherwise, this is a very dark episode. When you really look into it, like we were saying earlier, like there's a lot of hits at some really dark slavery and like being imprisoned and all that stuff.
I mean, sure, but I don't think the villains should have that much like comedy thrown their way. Like, I think that scene worked really well with just the bad acting from Katara and Sokka enough that would have been the humor there. I think the Momo bending thing was just a step further than I would have taken it.
No way.
fair
I thought
enough.
it was good. I don't know.
I mean, you also have the warden being like comedically evil, like George Takei just kind of had a field day with it. It was just like,
Yep.
oh, this guy coughed in the middle of my spiel. Fucking, you're in seg. Get out of here. So like while I do agree that it was more than likely to kind of soften the blow of like the darker themes that were addressed in this particular episode, and I think they balanced it pretty well.
Yeah, it gave that stormtrooper sort of tropey, dumb henchmen that, they have a bajillion of them that come out of nowhere all the time. So I think you need to have that sort of like underlying comedic texture to the point. Back to there's one scene too, like it was a very small part, but when she's up there giving her speech about oppression and all that, and the guards are coming to fight, the general just like puts his hands up and like tells them to stop, so she like finished her point. I thought that was just such a realistic sort of like live action scene that developed a lot of emotion with her speech by like kind of breaking up that cut with that, but like it added to like a certain darkness of him. Like he wanted to see her finish that point just to make the sting hurt that much more when they go to battle with each other. I thought it was
to break
really
her.
subtle. Yeah, it was really subtle, but like I thought really poignant and very genius by like the writers and directors.
It does kind of interest me, though.
And did you notice the dad of the imprisoned kid?
That's
Oh
good.
yeah, I was gonna say, I was just gonna say real quick that
Yeah.
The dad of the imprisoned kid had one of the sexiest dad voices I've ever heard.
But
I mean, that's fair.
going back to your point though about Katara's speech and the war and letting it happen, while I get that it was kind of like a demoralizing thing for her, I mean, he has all the power in the situation. He could have easily just like, oh, you're not an earthbender at all, you're a waterbender. Oh, you're actually kind of a threat out here. Let's just lock her away somewhere else and not have that be a problem at all.
Exactly. That's why I thought it added a really point of like interest to that scene by the fact that like no matter what, he has all the power. As soon as she finishes talking, he could interrupt her at this moment now, or when she finishes. But I think it's gonna hurt that much more letting you finish and getting them excited and riled up, because I'm gonna come down and crush all these motherfuckers.
I don't know, that to me speaks more about his arrogance than his cunning, though. He thinks he's capable of handling it and that they won't rise out of control. And I think he underestimated them or overestimated his forces, maybe.
Well,
It's
yeah.
funny-
I mean, it feels like like this episode really paints the picture that the Fire Nation as a whole exists in the world as a bully. They have a lot of firepower. Ha ha ha.
Haha!
You're funny.
Yeah.
Well,
No, they have a lot of strength. Like they have a lot of military might, and they have like a very advanced naval force. But they're like a lot of their edge in the war is the fact that it's been going on for 100 years and they've been winning. So there's a big psychological component of it. The fact that they've conquered all these lands and they've been doing it for so long that they can lean on that in order to not even have to fight. And I think this episode really painted their use of psychological torture as a main component as to why they've been so dominant the past 100 years.
Right.
It doesn't work when there's somebody who shows that if we band together, you can punch that dickhead in the face. But like it goes to a larger bully analogy. That's how it read for me.
Brian, are you saying that this episode
well,
might be a
shows that one of the
metaphor for
firebenders
something?
could be beat.
No, like metaphors in The Last Airbender? Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
Why,
like
dog?
this kind of goes back to right on the flip side of what this shows the bullying power. But we also talked about the Earthbenders. There's a reason why they have been the longest. Why it's been taking them so long to break down this. The Earthbenders, the Firebenders, and Chaz brought that point up of them being the most longevity. And then in this one is the first example where we see them actually beat Firebenders, showing that they're actually vulnerable in kind of when you see them go head to head as an army as opposed to like one-on-one battles. Because this is actually the first battle we see. This is the biggest battle, like according to my fighter's notes. This is the first like army battle that we've kind of seen in longevity with so much detail. There's been clips of it before and they've shown like flashbacks and whatnot, but this is the first time that we see an actual clash head to head in this type of setting in Earthbenders 1, Firebenders 0 right now.
Yeah,
That's true.
absolutely.
Let's see what else we got here. Why were the Earthbenders able to be caught in the first place, and why did they wait so long to fight back?
I think it goes back to the mental aspect that I
Right.
brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
psychological breakdown.
Yeah, they had this village in a vice grip. They showed up in force and took all of the stronger men and all of the Earthbenders, just put them in prison and then said, "Hey, now that there's nobody to protect you, if anybody acts out of line, we're gonna come down on you hard." And so, they were under that for God knows how many years.
And I'll understand too, like this town was invaded by the firebenders because it's a coal mining town. So these are like already like broken folk. Like, you know, they've been slaving in the mines for, you know, it's already a poor town, so they're weak, they can't fight back. So this is like a really good example, like what Ryan says, this like psychological breakdown that, you know, we see a lot of imprisonment camps. And, you know, why can't people band together and overtake them? Like, this is reasons why we're like cults are so successful. Like, you play on that psyche of a person, you can break them down mentally without actually physically hurting them.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the same argument, not that it's a good argument to make, of course, but, you know, you look at slavery in the United States, in almost every case, there was way more of the slaves than there were of the,
Right.
I hate to use the word masters, but the owners, or the bad people, right? The prison wardens, if you will. There's way more of them than there are of, you know, the family or whatever it is. So at the end of the day, what prevents them from rising up? And all it is power.
Right.
Even if it's just the fear, and fear equates to power on a huge level. There's, you know, some people will get power through fear. Some people will get power through respect. I mean, I'm sure everybody in this group has mentors and people that they respect, that they didn't earn that power over you, if you will. It's not necessarily power over you, but they didn't earn that power in your life by fear. They earned it by earning your respect. Whereas, you know, there are definitely people in my life that I'm terrified of, or have been terrified of in my life. And it's a very different feeling. Instead of being like, oh, I'm going to go talk to this person, it's like, it's debilitating. It makes you feel hopeless. It makes you feel helpless. And you're just like, no matter what I try, it's not going to work. I just want to survive and get to the next day. I want to wake up in the morning, go to bed.
Act right. So you don't have to face that fear.
You're not stirring the pot. You don't want to stir the pot.
Yeah. That was a good example.
That's why this episode has such awesome tones to it. I mean, not awesome in like it's good, but awesome in the fact that it really does equate a lot of these really bad things and kind of give the, you know, because we got to remember this is a kid's show. I think it does show the people that watched it that this isn't good, right? And like that's a good thing to show them. Like you don't want to get power with fear. You know, you want to get it with respect, which is where Iroh comes in later on, you know, honor and respect and things like that. And he kind of teaches some different things later on.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Good point. Getting deep. This is what's great about the show too, is like, you know, think of the message it's sending to the kids, that even though they're not going to get the deep overtones that we got into, but you know, it's a motivating episode. Like watching people band together to beat up the bully, like that sends messages home to that 5th grader.
When those kids get older, though, they'll go back and rewatch this and be like, "Oh shit, I missed this when I was watching it as a kid. What the hell? What the hell is this about for reals?"
Once they steal their dad's weed and get high in the garage and then watch it, they're gonna realize why their dad was watching it next to him the first time.
Yeah, why their dad was crying. Why are you crying? It's nothing. I got some of my man. You'll understand when you're older.
So in this one, what I think has the best like one line, you know, you got the sexy dad voice, Earthbender guy, and you know, he's sending him out on that pile of coal, and like the guy's like screaming for like his mercy. I can't swim. I can't swim. And he's just like,
I love that.
Cowards float, boom, and just drops him in the water. I thought that was like a great moment in like an overall history. If you ever want to compile the different one-liners and snappy lines, that was kind of like one of my top ones.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Far. I thought that was gangster. Plus that guy looks like my dad too. So like, you know, kind of got to me on that level.
There you go.
That is all the questions I had for this one. We actually ran through those really quick. Is there anything else you guys want to touch up on, or do we want to move on to the final rankings in this one?
Jesus, I touched on a lot this episode. It's a lot.
I mean, it's a great episode. It's got a lot of really cool influences, if you will, and a lot of really cool messages that I think are real. It's really cool to have those little, I hate to say hidden things in kids shows, but it's a good thing. Teaching kids not to bully. I mean, that's not to be mean and not to try to instill fear in people.
It's a straightforward lesson I think kids need to have. Yeah.
Lesson. There you go. Lesson. That's what I was thinking.
Well,
I like this episode a lot.
Well, before we get to the review, let me just remind everybody you can follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook to reach out to us and tell us why you think these episodes are great or perfect. And you can also reach to us by email. Ryan, what is the email?
That email is okay. Excuse me. That is evacstation@gmail.com.
Love it. So this is where we rank the episode from platinum to bronze. Gentlemen, where would you rank these episodes at?
I'll go first again, I guess. So for the King of Omashu, I'm gonna give that a silver. I love King Boomy, but there's not a whole lot that goes on in the episode that really means a lot or moves the characters forward or anything like that. It really just is introducing Boomy, similar to how the Warriors of Kyoshi was just introducing Suki. So I'll give this one a silver, because it's just kind of meh. Honestly, I'd probably give the prison either a high gold or a low platinum. That's a hard one because it's by far not the most inspirational episode, but with all the stuff we talked about, it's definitely up there. It's definitely one of the most inspirational episodes.
Beau, how do you feel about that one?
Okay, so as far as the first one, I'm gonna give it a nice, strong bronze. I thought visually it was great. A lot of cool, fun, kitschy elements. I laughed. Very entertained. However, in sort of the spectrum, I'm trying to follow my grading system. Kind of falls off the plot points. A little bit more of a filler. However, in Prison, I'm gonna give it a platinum. Be my first platinum, because this is actually, all the episodes have been absolutely great. If I was to grade them episode by episode, they would all be bronze, in the sense that if I've never seen this before, every episode was so enthralling and so mind-blowing, and the fact that this is a kid's show, they would all be bronze platinums. But however, breaking down this system, this is the first time we really see the show get deep. We've dealt with deep issues, but this is deep issues, and just a amount of elements it had to it, definitely a bronze. First bronze of the season.
You mean platinum?
Platinum, Jesus, why do I keep doing that?
It's okay. Colors are confusing. It's great.
Good thing I'm not getting
amazing.
paid.
It's absolutely a bronze.
I'm so glad that I'm not getting paid to do this, and that therefore won't be able to get fired from doing this. I just won't be invited back later. So.
Oh, but we have a quarterly meeting tomorrow. I need to talk to you.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll zoom in at 10:30.
Got a pink slip for you.
Shows up at 10:45.
Ryan, where do you stand on this one?
So I think I'm agreeing with a lot of what's being said already. I think the King of Omashu was definitely fun, and it introduces one of the greatest comedy bits in the whole series with my boy Cabbage Man. But it definitely does feel like a bit of a filler episode, even though it does introduce a character that will return in a more important setting. But still, seeing Boomy was fun. It was some more nice comedic relief. So I would give that I'd give that a high bronze. Now for Imprisoned, while it also does feel a bit filler-esque, It still it allows Katara to take the spotlight for the first time. Really gives her some great character development. We get a nice bit of world building with the village and the Fire Nation's reign of terror, and it does navigate some very dark topics with a lot of grace for a kid show. So I would go ahead and give that a gold.
Alrighty.
Sweet.
So I'm gonna probably give Omashu a Kingdom of Omashu a silver. I give it a little higher ranking just because it's also the introduction not just of Boomy but of Earthbending, and getting to see that full force is something I'm super down for, and they showcase it really well in a lot of different ways. So I definitely think I'd like to rank it higher, but I think story-wise it's not as strong as some of the other ones. But in terms of just introducing elements of the show, no pun intended, I think it does a great job with Earthbending. So, and then for the Imprisoned, I'm probably going to give it a high silver, low gold, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm not hating on it. I'm not hating on it.
Racist, bro.
Maybe a little bit. But I think that there are episodes where they deal with, and I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure there are episodes where they deal with oppression from the Fire Nation in more interesting ways later on in the series. And while this is certainly good, I do think that there is something lacking from the delivery, and maybe it's just me, but I do think we hit strides with similar narrative structures later on in the series that I think do a little bit better.
Oh, okay. Fair point.
That's fair.
Burn, you're fired.
The meeting's tomorrow, 10:30.
Ah, damn it. Well, I'll be there at 11. It's fine.
Perfect.
So thank you all for watching. Next week, we're back to doing a two-parter with the Winter Solstice episode.
Ooh.
So tune in for that, and we'll see you after the credits.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, yep,
Aaron,
yep.
are you gonna do? Are you gonna do the self-plugging things?
Oh, right.
Self-promotions?
So, someone reminded me about that. So, does anyone have any thing they need to plug before we head out for the night?
Oh, I do.
Oh, bro's got a plug.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for whoever reminded. No, actually, I do have an exciting project coming out July 31st on hstv.com. It's like Hy-Vee's like Facebook channel. I have a cooking show premiering where we're every other Friday we'll be releasing a different video on doing a different take on fried foods.
Very cool.
That's coming out this Friday. Very excited about it. It's like high production, like we're in a studio, and there's all kinds of like shots they've done. So like definitely want you guys to check it out. Not to self brag, but just something I'm super proud of, and it's been a goal of mine for before I even became a chef. So just to see how it takes 10 years of hard work for things to develop, and this is just the first step. So check it out, guys.
Well, with that logic, we have
awesome,
6 more years to
That's
go
awesome,
until our
dude.
show gets there.
I'll be here every step of the way.
Love it. Anyone else have any plugs to do, or do we want to go ahead and wrap up then?
I don't think I have any plugs. I mean, stay safe, stay healthy, don't die.
Except those anal plugs, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you have those.
Wear a mask, motherfuckers. Yeah, I was hoping there would be an anal plug joke there somewhere.
So thank you for listening, everybody.
I got lots of things.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.
Bye.